that rapid climate change is real, it's dangerous, and that we're causing it. That is the scientific consensus. It's not something you believe in. People say, do you believe in climate change? It's not a belief. It's not like a religion, right? It's something that is. You don't have to believe in gravity, but if you trip, you're going to fall down. Right? So, Maine is, unfortunately, this puts new meaning to the term Dirigo, the Maine state motto, which means I lead. Maine is on the leading edge, I think, of climate impacts in the lower 48. So it's putting our health, our safety, and our economy at risk. So we have a lot at stake with what's happening right now down in Washington. So I gotta say, I have a confession. Speaking of Dirigo, I always thought I lead, right? It's on the state emblem. I always thought it was referring to Mainers, you know, us. There's that farmer and the sailor on the seal, and we lead. We're leadership types in Maine. And it just, I don't know how it escaped me that Polaris, the North Star, is at the top of the seal, and it's referring to the North Star. I don't know how I missed that. Did anyone else miss that? Everyone do that? Okay, good. Somehow, after all those years. At any rate, Polaris, the symbol of guidance and direction, is at the top of the seal. For the Norse sailors, they called it the lodestar. For medieval mariners, it was Stella Maris, right? It was very familiar to a lot of cultures. Ancient Arabic mariners called it Al Judei, and even Shakespeare talked about it in Julius Caesar as the one and all doth hold his place, right? So Polaris, if you'll pardon the pun, it has this stellar reputation for reliability right there. That's why we have it on that Maine state seal. But the North Star is also, of course, very important to the Inuit cultures of the Arctic. And in Inuktitut, it's called Nuksuituk, and if I got that wrong, you can, my Greenlandic girlfriend here can remind me exactly how to pronounce this. But it symbolizes the wisdom and the leadership of their elders, right? And that North Star at this point in the Arctic is pretty much the only constant you'll see up there, right? So this symbol of wisdom and leadership and guidance and so on is hanging up there in the Arctic, while the absence of those values, because of the absence of those values, the rest of the Arctic is transforming before our eyes in some very, very dramatic ways. These complicated issues around relocation for villages in the Arctic, we need to pay pretty close attention to that, because whether it's relocation or managed retreat or dislocation, which is a storm's coming, get out of here and don't come back, which is the worst scenario, these issues are going to start playing out, or have started playing out in the lower 48. We're already seeing that, right? Whether it's Puerto Rico, Houston, New Orleans, some of these other places. And of course, it's always the poorest among us that suffer the most, so environmental justice issues are coming more and more to the fore. We need to pay a lot more attention to them. But don't think for a minute that how we handle the village of Shishmaref in Alaska doesn't have implications for how we handle Miami Beach or Boston Harbor or the waterfront in Portland, right? I mean, how we process this from the governance and financial and social and cultural angles is going to matter, and it's going to be happening a lot in the lower 48. So I've filed a number of FOIA requests since my whistleblower complaint, and they were not responding. So I sued the agency a couple months later, and we're finally getting documents out. And just last week, we learned that Zinke's team has circulated climate denier blogs and reports as official. They've tried to squelch climate change science press releases. His officials have been meeting exclusively with industry only. They've been treating career employees like cattle. We already knew that. And then, of course, Zinke absolutely needed $139,000 doors for his office. And that was just last week, right? And we also learned, I think the week before, that Zinke, by getting these emails out of the agency, that Zinke lied when he said that shrinking Bears Ears and Grand Staircase Escalante National Monuments was not about providing more access to oil and gas. We have the emails where they're saying that's exactly what they were doing. So he just flat out lied. And that's become apparently okay. So we need to be on top of that, transparency. And also the websites, of course. We know that they're deleting everything from the website. So we need to hold them accountable for this. Your representative in Congress needs to be holding them accountable for this. So DOI has about 70,000 staff. In the next 5 or 6 years, 50% of those people are retirement eligible. So on one hand, you may think, crap, there goes a lot of institutional knowledge. But on the other hand, here's an opportunity to bring in a whole new cohort of people who never even think twice about the importance of diversity in the workplace or the role of climate change or the impacts of climate change. They don't even consider that. They know that stuff. So you can bring not just new energy, but a new baseline for what's decency and what's appropriate in the workplace. So it may be that the federal government can reboot in a really neat new way such that we can address these problems more effectively. So there are some ways. We're seeing this energy already in Parkland, Florida. We're seeing kids really stepping up in some fascinating and inspiring ways. So I do have a little bit of hope that we can flip the script a little bit, but the environment's going to be unrecognizable in a few decades, and we're just going to have to hope that it's livable.